Now, microprocessors are manufactured on the surface of a thin wafer of silicon, and I have one of them here. I hope you can see this. Each of those little squares is a single microprocessor of the kind that we saw earlier. Now, to me, it seems incredible that something which is so tiny and so complex can be made at all. It sounds almost impossible. Well, to see how it's done, we're going to have a go at doing something else which also sounds impossible. And for this, I'd like a volunteer. Should we have someone from this side? Yeah, I bet you. Would you like to come on down? Let's just turn that. Let's come and stand here. That's good. What's your name?
Riley.
Riley. Okay. What's your initials? What are your initials?
BG.
BG. All right. I'm going to give you a big marker pen. There we go. And I have here some rice, just ordinary rice. I'm going to take a little grain of rice. And I'm wondering, do you think you could write your initials on the side of that grain of rice using that marker pen?
Probably not.
Probably not. No, I think probably not either. Okay. Tell you what, to make it a little bit easier, we're going to do something different. Just wait there a minute. What I have here is just a sheet of plastic. What I'd like you to do is to write your initials, nice big writing, nice big fat writing, across the middle of that plastic for me. Okay? Excellent. Okay, that's good. Do you want to just go over that one more time? Make it really nice and big and fat. That's it. Lots and lots of ink is really good for this. Excellent. Wonderful. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, let's just pop the top back on there. Now, what we're going to do with this, if you'd like to come with me, come over here. If you'd like to stand just there, we're going to take this and I'm going to pop it in this frame like this, and I'm going to switch on this light box. So this is just a box with a bright light inside. So lots of light is coming out. It's passing through your initials and spreading out in all directions. And over here we have a lens. And the lens is collecting some of that light and focusing it down onto this grain of rice. And we also have a camera which is looking at that little grain of rice as well. And if we can now take the feed, from that camera and bring it up on the screen, if I keep out of the way of the light, we should just there, we can see, there are your initials written on a grain of rice. Okay? Okay, I'd like to do one more thing. Hold out your hand like this and put it in front of your initials, in front of the light box. That's it. And then hold it flat like that in front of the light box. That's it. And now just move it gently about. And we can see an image of your hand. Okay. Okay, thank you very much indeed. Years. But remember, I said that a couple of years ago we hit a big problem which threatens to stop further growth in the speed of processors. Now, to see what that problem is, I'd like to try a little experiment, and I'd like you all to join in, please. I'd like you to imagine that each of you is a transistor in a microprocessor. Now, at the moment, you're all switched off, so you're all nice and relaxed and nice and cool. Okay, what I'd like you to do, I'd like you all stand up, please. Okay, now you're all transistors that are switched on, but you're not using too much energy, so you're still fairly cool. Okay, I'd like you to sit down, please. And I'd like you to stand up again, please. Okay, sit down. Okay, could you all stand up, please? Okay, you can all sit down now, thank you. Okay, so by now you're probably feeling quite a bit hotter. Now imagine that we pack twice as many of you into the same space and ask you all to stand up and sit down again. Then you'd be generating twice as much heat, and we'd need more ventilation to keep you cool. Now imagine we also ask you to stand up and sit down twice as fast. Then you'd generate even more heat, and we'd need even more cooling. Well, it's just like this for the transistors in a microprocessor. When they're off, they don't use much energy, they don't produce much heat. When they're on, they also don't produce much heat. It's only when they're switching between on and off that they use energy and produce heat. Now, to see why it is, because the transistors only produce heat when they're actually switching, it means that modern microprocessors are very efficient in their use of energy. So making transistors smaller makes them faster, and it makes them cheaper, but it also means they produce more heat per unit area. So although modern microprocessors are very efficient, as we approach 1 billion transistors on a chip, they're going to be producing a lot of heat. Now, to show you just how much heat, we did a little experiment. We took a standard personal computer, which you see on the right here, and then Ian and Nathan took it all apart and laid all the components out on a board. And over here, we see the end result. Here are the different parts of the computer laid out. This is the main circuit board of the computer. This is called the motherboard. This houses many of the important components. For example, along here we have the memory chips. And this is the power supply here. This is the hard disk. This stores all the data and the software. And the processor itself is on the motherboard. It's underneath here. And usually, on top of the processor, we have a piece of metal like this, which is called a heatsink. And on top of the heatsink, we have a little fan to keep it cool. Now, we've removed the heatsink, and we've replaced it with this copper dish. Now, this computer's been sitting here for a while, doing 1,000 million calculations a second. And so what I have here is an egg. I'm just going to crack the egg and put it into that copper dish. And we'll come back to that in just a moment and see how that's getting on. Meanwhile, let's just have a look at a little photograph of a computer circuit board. And this photograph has been taken with a special camera called a thermal imaging camera. And so the different colours here represent different temperatures. So the purples and the blues, those are low temperatures, and the yellows and reds are hotter temperatures. The white is the hottest of all. What we can see is that the hottest part of the computer is actually the microprocessor. OK, let's have a look and see how our egg's getting on. And it's actually cooking very nicely. In fact, I think my supper will be ready by the end of the lecture. OK. Now, really, that's just a bit of fun. But in fact, heat has become one of the biggest problems that microprocessor designers have to face today.